members of the Planning and Development Department to introduce themselves for the record.
Luisa Tovar, Deputy Director.
Oh, that was Tiffany Mu Young, Planner 2.
Kate Henry with Eileen Delatorre.
Josh Word.
And John Torres, Planner 1.
With 3 members present, a quorum has been achieved. The purpose of the Design Review Board is to review applications for developments of community impact and to provide architectural and design-related recommendations to the Mayor and City Council. These recommendations are intended to aid the Mayor and City Council in their review of the application and for them to consider adopting as conditions should the project be approved in its current form. Tonight's meeting will proceed as follows. First, staff will introduce the agenda item and provide a brief overview of the application. The application and those in support of the application will have a total of 10 minutes to speak. The applicant may reserve time for rebuttal. However, if rebuttal time is reserved, no additional speakers in support will be permitted. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application will also have up to 10 minutes total for their comments. Following public comment, board members may discuss the project and ask questions of the applicant. After discussion, the board will compile a list of design-related recommendations to forward to the Mayor and City Council for their consideration. Recommendations require a majority vote of the members present, and if a vote results in a tie, no recommendation will be forwarded. With that, I will turn it over to my team to present the application.
Good evening, board members. We have this request for the properties at 3380 Hardy Avenue, 3384 Hardy Avenue, and 1982 4th Street and 1974 4th Street. This is for the construction of a 57 square foot multifamily building that has a total of 61 units. The applicant is Regent Partners, LLC. The total combined acreage for these 4 parcels is 1.81 acres. The property zone NC1, neighborhood commercial. The applicant would be requesting 6 variances and 7 waivers. I'm going to go over the variance and waivers requests that would be evaluated for Mayor and Council. The first one is to allow the achievement of a National Green Building Standard Bronze certification instead of the silver certification that is required. A variance to allow ground floor multifamily and residential amenity uses within 100 feet of Hardy Avenue and the public alley, and a variance to not conceal wrap ground floor multifamily residential uses with other active uses adjacent to 4th Street, to reduce the minimum 60% balcony requirement to 0%, to reduce the exterior brick or stone material from 60 to 30%, to allow placement of off-street parking between the principal building and 4th Street. Regarding the waivers, the applicant is requesting to not require the building facade to be built adjacent to the supplemental zone along Hardy Avenue, to not require a building facade to be built adjacent to the supplemental zone along 4th Street, to allow cementitious lap siding as an accent material on a building of more than 3 stories, to allow the construction of a building out of type V wood framed material and not concrete and steel framing material, to reduce the required landscape strip width along 4th Street, and to not provide interparcel access connectivity to adjacent lots, to substitute the required 5-foot landscape strip between head-to-head parking with a sidewalk for internal pedestrian circulation, and to reduce the required landscape strip width along 4th Street. Okay. So this is an aerial view of the 4 properties. These properties are located right behind the Chambly Library and is in proximity to Claremont Park and the DeKalb Peachtree Airport. The subject property is improved with what appears to be single-family homes on 1974 and 1982 4th Street. There's also what appears to be a single-family home. I'm not sure if it's used for residential or office or commercial. That is at 3380 Hardy Avenue. And the lot behind 3380 is 3384, which is what appears to be a concrete or parking lot. This is the view of the alley that is currently used for parking by the adjacent property that provides access to the rear lot. The existing site, this is essentially, you can see on the slides, you can see the combination of the 4 parcels and the boundaries of the request. So regarding the proposed site plan, the applicant will be in compliance with the required impervious areas, open space, FAR, and minimum parking requirements, as well as bicycle parking. The applicant proposes to have one bed, 2 bed, and 3 bed units with different number of them. And you can see that in the density study as of the different kinds of unit count that will be provided here. Regarding landscape plans, the applicant is in compliance with the tree density requirements, as well as the required landscaping for the parking lot, as well as the perimeter landscaping requirement. This is a planned schedule, which I'm not going to go over that. Regarding the elevations, this is the north elevation. The applicant will utilize brick, fiber cement siding, fiber cement paneling, and metal canopies. That's the same for every elevation, on the east elevation, west elevation, and south elevation. And then the applicant would be in compliance with the required fenestration percentage along 4th Street and Hardy Avenue. So with that, I finalize my presentation.
All right, with that, I will move on to allow the applicant to present their application.
Hello, everybody. My name is Josh Marks with Regent Partners. I appreciate the opportunity to present this opportunity to the community and the board. We are really excited to be working on this opportunity and to provide much needed affordable mixed income housing to the city of Chamblee. Again, my name is Josh Marks. I've been in Atlanta for a long time. Regent Partners is an Atlanta-based family office here in town, established in 1988 here locally. It's one corporate office. We're all local. And I came on about 2.5 years ago to launch an affordable housing business with us. I previously was at a different developer focusing on affordable housing. This will be hopefully our 6th affordable housing mixed income community within the MSA. And this will be our 3rd opportunity within DeKalb County that we'd be undergoing. I live not far from here, and so the opportunity, and I've been trying to develop something in Chamblee for many years, so the opportunity to work with the city is very exciting to me personally. We've been around for a long time. I don't have control over this, so apologize.
You can tell me when.
Yeah, just keep going. We're fine. Keep going. Keep going. We have a team. So if you mind backing up one. Yeah, so my partner and I, we've been focused on affordable housing for a long time. When we focus and spend a lot of time on something like this, we are committed to it, and we're going to see it through to completion. You don't mind going to the next one? As mentioned before, this is going to be for families, which we're very excited about. The proximity to MARTA is very exciting to us. The library is literally right behind us. Being able to go to great elementary, middle, and public school or high school is just very exciting to us. This would be a mix of affordable to residents earning below 50 and 60% of area median income and market rate. So we're excited about mixing income just to have a variety of people living next to each other. If you don't mind, keep going. We can keep going. And then Just a quick overview, we'll have, community room, wellness center, fitness facility. We'll have ongoing programming with our property management company, providing preventive healthcare services, on-site tutoring, on-the-job training, financial literacy activities, and we'll partner with the Housing Authority as well to provide all sorts of other resident services. So we're very excited about that, if you don't mind continuing. And this is just what we would demonstrate before. We're just, kind of rough elevations. Obviously, y'all are design professionals and can see it, but this is just, a representative example of something else we're working on locally. So, it'll look similar to that, but obviously the design that we've put on the sheet for you. You can keep going. And this is just some other representative imagery of just the quality of our communities we develop. And I'm happy to take any questions that y'all have.
So moving along, we'll open up for the board members to ask questions of the applicant. Before we do that, I did want to remind everybody, I did send an email out earlier today. I know that previous planning and development directors have felt differently in the past several years. However, before then and now, I am in the position of finding that the design review board cannot make recommendations for approval or denial of zoning matters. However, you can provide comments on the design-related aspects should the project be approved in its submitted form, and potentially how some of those variances or waivers or things of that matter would impact the design should they be approved. So just bear that in mind. We want to make sure that we're operating in full compliance with state law as it relates to zoning procedures and delegated powers and things like that. So with that, we'll open the floor for design review board members to ask questions and discuss the application.
You said your name was Josh?
Yes.
Okay. Can you just maybe speak a little bit to the logic for how the site plan,
Sure. Absolutely.
why the building is placed where it is,
Would love to. So, thinking holistically about the site and how it sits, it is in a regular shaped site. And as we're developing property, this is, we run into this quite regularly of just what is available to be developed. It doesn't sit primarily on the corner of two major streets. We've got access to two not super highly trafficked streets, but at the same time in a redeveloping area. And so how can we help place this building in a location where it makes the most sense and where we can get our residents to their desired places to go in a most easy manner, and how it's going to fit into the community. It felt to us, in conjunction and talking with the staff, that Hardy Street is probably just the more prominent street to locate it, rather than Forest Street feels more residential in nature. So it kind of felt right, even though there's a little bit less frontage on Hardy Street, it felt right to have that be the larger prominence for the building location. There is some discussion about the supplemental zone, but we basically just tried to have the front mass be, prominent up front, hiding the parking as much as we could. And so we, had the building placing up towards the front of Hardy. It kind of does help with the natural topo grade change to have a basement condition, have it be a 4-5 split. And that way we can get better density, more density, but it doesn't feel as imposing because considering we've got the library to the back of us, so that's not, and we've got some just distance separation to any sort of building over on that side. And we've got the alley to kind of buffer a little bit on that side. But the 4 stories on the front of Hardy, it makes its presence felt, but it's not overwhelming. That's kind of how we were thinking about it. We did think long and hard about if it made sense to have a drive on Hardy to basically enter the site around the building. But after discussion with staff, and staff has been, I want to pause and just recognize staff has been incredibly helpful, available, supportive to understanding what the city desires and being a collaborative partner, and we really appreciate that. We obviously don't have, considering alleyways can be challenging from a title perspective, we didn't want to go the route of heading through the alley when we didn't feel like we would know if that was going to be a path forward. And if we were to try to have a drive on the Hardy component, we would be just designing a less efficient building. We wouldn't be able to have a double-loaded corridor building there. So it just felt like it made a lot more sense to have it come off, the main drive come off of 4th Street, which has got easier, closer access to Claremont as well, and then we'd have parking there, but we did feel like we could effectively, provide some screening to where it didn't feel like you're just seeing a sea of parking on that side, but it felt like it was a better solution than doing a single loaded corridor building on the Hardy Street side, or Hardy Avenue side. From a design perspective, knowing Chamblee has been more industrial in nature and we got the rail line close, it just felt like it was a more of an industrial spirit building. And obviously you got the requirement to have the reflective roofing, so it just felt like flat roof, more industrial nature kind of building facade was going to feel better than, more of a suburban style building. So that's what we were trying to achieve with the, building design.
All right, so on Hardy, one of the variances was not pushing the building up against the supplemental zone. Was it not both?
It actually ended up being on both of those. There was
On both.
It was on both.
Obviously, it's not going to meet it on 4th Street because your building is a couple hundred feet back. What's the logic on, you're just a couple feet away on,
Right, yeah, so part of that was the code, frankly, was a little bit confusing. It described a minimum landscape sidewalk supplemental zone, but after discussion with staff, it felt like it was not as much a minimum that was expected, but it was going to be that amount. And so this was after we placed our building on the property and we've gotten further into this design process. And so we felt like going back to the landscape strip, then 5-foot sidewalk, we could have done a larger sidewalk, but it was going to potentially have a larger sidewalk area than whatever's going to be on the future development. And so we wanted to make sure it was a 5-foot sidewalk there. And then we ended up having the 10-foot supplemental zone, and then we'd be pushed back a little bit. And a part of that we didn't want to move the building at that stage of the design was because of just some cascading effects, but also, and the major component of that was it would have impacted our open space requirement. So if the building is set back a little bit further, we're getting the vast majority of our open space. It's hard to show you. But basically, right here, so if we push the building up, it felt like we were going to just push the whole parking up as well, which was going to impact this open space calculation.
that B3 unit that's in the bottom corner. Is there a setback that's hitting?
Say that one more time, sorry.
The B3 unit that's sort of closest to the parking, but next to the property line? Is there a setback right there that you're maintaining?
Right here or right here?
Yeah, I'm just thinking without taking setbacks into consideration for a second, if your whole building just slid forward towards the sidewalk.
Yeah,
You'd just be trading the open space in front of the building to behind it, right?
Yeah, well, but part of it is we wanted it to be, we could have had it, I guess, on the back side over here, but I just frankly don't know. This is like floodplain and creek. I don't know how.
I guess I'm just thinking literally if the whole L of the building shifted.
Yeah,
Gray hatch on one side just goes to the other side of the building, not the other side of the parking,
Right.
the building.
Yeah, I just don't, based on what they've told us for how y'all determine open space calculation, it's more that it's available to, we wanted to make it available to the greater community. The fencing that we have on this side is coming in, and so I guess that wouldn't really make too much of a difference. At the end of the day, to be completely honest, we had set the building and we'd done a good bit of engineering, and that was kind of a comment that we were trading back and forth without trying to have a bunch of cascading effects. We just said that we would ask for the variance. But if that's a comment, that's something we could totally incorporate.
Matt, or staff, the alley. What's going on with the alley? It looked like someone was using it for parking. Do they have, is there like some kind of agreement that they have, or they just take it? Like what?
That is unclear. It does look like at one point it was partially improved for parking or for driveway access. It is, what we technically call a paper street. It's unclear if it's even a true alley under Chambly's definition as originally platted. But it is public right-of-way.
So, if we were thinking about interparcel connectivity and trying to achieve that, or frankly just having multiple points of access, is that available for their use?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question is, right now they've got one point of entry on the south side. They're asking for a variance to not provide interparcel connectivity. But we have an alley on the north side of our property that's sort of being ignored from this plan's perspective. And I get why they ignored it, because someone's already kind of claimed it. But, if it's public right-of-way, do they have the ability to tie into that parking as a second point of access?
It is possible. We've had preliminary conversations with the Department of Public Works, who would be the official determinant of that as sort of the shepherds of the public realm, or public right-of-way, as it were. And they did not seem too keen on that, apparently because of the watershed and flooding issues that are in this area. But it is something that could be pursued further.
And that's something that, if that is something that Public Works or the city desired, that's something that, if it turns out title has access and what is allowable, I mean, it's not our collateral, so we haven't explored that yet, but that's something that we would be happy to explore if we needed to.
Again, another one of the variances was you have parking between the building and the street, specifically 4th Street. Obviously, it's because your building is pushed, far, all the way north. Did you ever, so we've seen other applications for developments in this area. I can't remember if it was the last one or a couple before, where they, to kind of solve that conundrum, they made an out parcel building that basically housed some of the amenity space. Yeah, I mean, sort of, it's in the spirit of a garden-style apartment, having a separate building that either you could put leasing centers in with a fitness center, laundry, that sort of stands separate from the main building, but gives you a building. Did you guys explore that at all?
We did not. I mean, but part of it is just from like our, we've I've worked on many communities where we've had, clubhouse buildings and then different amenity buildings. Just from my perspective, thinking about from the resident's perspective, I understand from a streetscape perspective that might be more desirable. I mean, to do integrated amenity space and leasing is just frankly a lot more financially feasible in a community like this, but also I think it's for the lived experience of the residents. I do think it's a lot better. I mean, to be able to have to walk, towards the amenity on the bottom part versus being able to go down the elevator and access your amenities in a kind of, a little bit, we typically we'll have our ground floors be, 10 foot instead of 9 feet, so it's just like a more pleasant experience. I think we just kind of feel like it's a better overall resident experience to be able to have the amenities interior to the building.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a balance, right? I mean, obviously you're a developer, you're thinking about leasing space, but at the same time, I think from our perspective, we're trying to figure out, how do we
Sure.
best achieve the intent of the UDO, which is to, at least in this area, promote more of an urban development type
Absolutely.
deal, right? And I don't know that a surface parking lot conveys that very
Sure.
well.
Totally understand. I would just also contend that a small kind of building down in the bottom, and it would eat into parking, we're just over required parking spaces, so that would kind of potentially eat into that. And also just the spirit of, what does it feel like? I just, thinking about more like an industrial style, multifamily community, just like a single standalone building doesn't feel like it fits into that sort of redeveloping dense environment in the same way.
I guess in my mind, obviously knowing that future development, we don't know what will happen, but you've got a streetscape that's got sort of mix of I guess you can't really determine if they're all residences or some of them are offices, but they're all sort of a single-family home scale.
Right.
Having a building on the south side of that same scale wouldn't necessarily feel out of place. Sort of the last question I have before I'll hear what others have to say is in relation to balconies, asking for full relief from balcony requirement. Is that purely a cost decision?
No, it really was more of from a practical perspective. We're next door to PDK, and we kind of it just feels like it is, we're obviously designing for a dense experience, more urban feel. Our kind of outdoor amenity kind of area is more on the backside, where the building is shielding it from the noise that's coming from PDK. And we just feel like the balconies, while they, look nice, would just likely not be used as much because of just the noise generated.
I mean, that's noise generated, you don't think people would use the balconies because of the noise, or that having a balcony door versus a solid wall?
Yeah, I mean, that is a consideration. When you've got the balcony doors, it's going to allow for more noise coming through, which is going to impact the interior noise. And also, I don't think they will be at, the potential balcony, we have to be able to have our interior units be at 45 decibels or below. And I do think that if you've got, balcony doors, that could impact the total noise of the interiors.
It's funny because I don't know. Maybe it's just because I know the airport has a viewing area that people regularly go to. It just feels like actually being on the side of the airport strip where you see planes would be more desirable potentially, or something interesting. It's almost like a selling point, but I do get the sound considerations. Although I don't know, you'd have to do a sound study probably, but that wouldn't necessarily apply to rear-facing units.
Correct. You're right.
There's the segue for you.
I'll let you breathe. So you are right next to the airport, and I assume, kind of to Josh's question earlier, that while it seems like the 4th Street side would be an easier place to put a building, you have that lovely sewer line straight through your site. So that probably makes a lot of sense as to why you had to squeeze the building building up in that corner. So are you, can you tell me a little bit about what materials or what you're doing in terms of materiality to handle noise control since you are so close to the end of the runway?
Absolutely. So, we typically, we have to get noise studies completed for all of our communities. Another development that I'm been in development of right now is right next to an elevated MARTA rail line. So sometimes we do have to do certain levels of noise mitigation. I have pulled a good number of studies that have been completed on other parcels near the airport right here. And, so one, we're using brick and fiber cement, all high quality, outside of brick, 30-year warranty materials. Brick is going to be, it doesn't have the warranty, but it's obviously a great material. If we are required to, per the sound studies, we will make window upgrades to have it be a higher SDC rating. And we also sometimes will end up using our acoustical caulk within the joint compound within the building. That is not something that we, know to the extent that we have to do that now, but that's what we will do that if we need to. The GIC, yeah, we have applied to the GIC team for their support. We have, heard good things so far, but they have not officially awarded us yet, but we are hopeful that they would. Okay.
They're eyesores.
Yeah, higher than like 4 feet starts to become difficult, and kind of what we landed on was a recommendation of maybe tiering when you get into that situation. I know that your site is tight in a couple of the places, but I think something that I'd like to see is just looking at if you can reduce wall height in some places and add like a step back with some landscape area or something.
Okay. Okay. That's something we can definitely look at, and I would just, honestly, it is it's tight in constructability of retaining walls near property lines, especially when you're trying to keep them at modular walls, can be quite challenging. We do have a floodplain condition as well on the left side, so that is just, not on our property at all, but adjacent to the site. So it is, we want to comply with making sure that, we set the building where it is, and obviously where the side or where the parking lot is, so that it can be well above the, well above the floodplain max elevations and everything like that. But we will take a look at that for sure.
Closer, I was reminded by the city manager that we need to catch everybody on the record.
The waiver to reduce the landscape strip on the 4th Street side, I was surprised by that. Is that just trying to squeeze in all the parking? You weren't able to get the extra couple of feet? It was only like 1.5 feet or something that you were asking for, but I was like, really? We can't make that all work?
Yeah, I think that is likely. Do you mind pulling up what the waiver request was specifically? No, we have a lot, so I apologize for not being able to respond to that immediately.
To reduce the required 10-foot landscape strip to 8.8 feet along 4th Street. So
got, do you mind if, can we actually get to the slide so I can just read it?
That is actually
Okay.
number 5 here on the presentation.
10-foot landscape strip to 8.8. Yeah, so I'm actually, I think, yeah, I mean, and I think that is just, I think it is just tight when you've got the landscape strip plus the sidewalk plus the supplemental zone on that side. I think it's just tight, but again, that's something that I can have our team take a look at. Yeah, no, that I hypothetically should be able to help make that work. Yeah, so the biggest request is being able to develop out of wood frame construction. So, going above 3 stories and not being able to use wood framing is cost prohibitive. We just wouldn't be able to build the community for the cost that the state allows. And so that's the biggest component. The being able to go from 60% to 30% brick, we likely would be above that, but we just feel like sometimes when we are doing so much brick, it can feel a little civic or institutional, and then the ability to use lap siding on a building like this, we want to just use high quality material. We don't like on a building where we're long-term owners, we're not trying to use something like IFAS. We're trying to use 30-year warranty material, and lap siding fiber cement can be a good solution for that when we don't want it just to be paneling, and even other higher end material. You have some waterproofing materials or waterproofing issues, like if you're gonna have a reveal panel or something like that, just over time that can wear on you. We're gonna be long-term owners here, so we just like being able to use stuff that we know is going to hold up really well long-term. Yeah, I think it's for us to be able to use, do high quality trees there, and just some other kind of lower maintenance landscaping to just fit into the community. But that is something that we can look at, if y'all desire for the building to be pushed up, that the parking lot pushes up a little bit, that could help on the retaining wall side on the west side. I want to be a helpful partner, and it kind of feels like that could help be a solution there. Sure.
But if you did slide the parking lot, I mean,
Help with that 7
feels
foot
like you got
retaining wall.
a little more room on the east side, right? Then you can, that's the worst retaining wall situation, is the west side?
We could actually even leave the retaining wall there, but you could have a slower grade change, which would allow you to potentially get the retaining wall lower.
Yeah, that or have enough space to fit the tiering. I mean, what some applicants have done is to tier it and then leave a landscape, like,
Yeah.
allows it, hides some of the wall height, right, or breaks up the wall height to a neighbor. What's how does trash work here? I mean, I see you got an internal trash room, but
Yep.
it,
Yeah, so we typically will, on a deal like this, where it's, 60 to 70 units, we do internal trash with a compactor, and then we will be able to really just have a roll-off staging area. And so if you look on the plan, there's a proposed truck loading area. We have like a cart caddy, which would help carry the carts. But on trash day, they'd come in and be able to go pick up the trash back here, and then we roll it back in. And then it's not an eyesore to the property. It's also a good solution for us.
but where is it coming in and out of the trash room? The plans, at least that I see, are just kind of showing like landscape right up to the walls there. I mean,
Yeah, so it would
a whole
go,
Metal door on the south.
yeah, that's frankly an oversight. There would be like double doors right here that would go out to the sidewalk area right there. And then it would just be rolled off.
Talking about like 2 cubic yard like dumpsters, or are these like,
They're not, it's hard to explain. No, they would be something where they would be able to fit into kind of like a French door solution like that.
but they're like, are they like the small
Yeah,
yard dumpsters, or are they?
no,
are they plastic bins?
they would be bigger than plastic bins. You would have like, kind of like a caddy that like machine-wise, we'd carry it out with that and then move it back in.
These double doors would be here, right? Where right now you're just showing a single metal door. This is the south elevation.
It could be there, or it could be, I think it likely would be there, or you could do it on the other side, but that's, I think, other porch areas, so it probably wouldn't be nice. So you'd probably want it on that side that you're
Yeah.
looking
I
at.
think on the, Eileen, the west elevation, they're showing like I couldn't tell because I couldn't see the arrow, but it looks like there's like 2 pairs of metal doors there.
Oh, I see.
That might be it, but we have flexibility to where we could shift that, if that's something that,
My
Y'all
brain
had a
saw that
preference
as
to-
like a faux window.
That's, okay, yeah, I thought that was just like some sort of architectural accent. I didn't realize those were doors as well. I have a question about the connectivity with the neighboring parcel. Not so much connectivity via vehicle, but I was thinking it would be nice, it might be useful to like extend the sidewalk to perhaps give pedestrian connectivity somehow to the library from this building.
yeah. I think that would be great. I would want to do some sort of, if it would be amenable to y'all, we do have an exterior fence that's, it's like 4 feet. It's not intense, but we would want to be thoughtful about making a gated type solution. But yeah, no, that's a good thought.
That's where, to me, the alleyway comes back into play.
Yeah.
If that's truly a public right-of-way, because the alleyway continues all the way across to the library parcel, could you almost make a sidewalk within the public right-of-way that,
Yeah, no, that would be great as well. We are designing for a public sidewalk, just to the, like, to Hardy, if it made sense, we can have it go and extend to the public right-of-way, the city, like that.
yeah, because I think your sidewalk you've got behind your fence line, but if you,
Yeah, we could extend it through.
yeah,
We
swapping
could,
it, I mean, I know there's parking there, but because there's parking, you could almost just have a sidewalk, separating your fence from their parking.
right. Yeah, we could absolutely take it through and to the alleyway if we need, if that was okay.
Matt or staff, who is I presume the library property is owned by the county, Is that accurate? Or
Yeah.
I
would-
think
would they-
so, but let me confirm really quickly.
Yes.
Yep,
it is.
DeKalb County.
Even though we're talking about doing this within an alleyway, which is technically a public right-of-way, would they need to, for any sort of connections made to their property, would they need to approve that?
You're talking about if only the alleyway were utilized? Or if they did some sort of
Clear that to the
easement?
property.
Yeah, I
Where-
mean, even if it were just the alleyway, like, like if we, applicant goes and pours a sidewalk, up to their parking lot behind their library, is DeKalb County gonna pitch a fit?
I mean, basically, they can't say anything until it gets, I'm speaking for you, and then you can correct me when I screw up something, but you should be able to do it, if it was public right-of-way that the city can approve and allow a sidewalk on in the alley, let's say, you would go up to the parcel that was the county's, which is the parcel, and then you would be looking for a construction easement to say, hi, can I put a sidewalk that connects right here to the back of your parking lot? And that's what they could approve or deny.
No, that's exactly right, yep.
Because I may not be looking at this correctly, but it looks like the exit from the library is actually what the alley was.
There's actually a curb cut right next to the library's curb cut that aligns to the alley, but it
Oh,
goes
is
to
there?
nothing. Like if you go
Interesting.
slightly north,
Oh, I see that.
like on
Okay.
Claremont, someone put a curb cut in the curb.
Okay, yeah, no, I do see that.
But goes nowhere.
Yes, that actually accesses a parcel just to the north of that right-of-way. It looks like it, and can't really trust GIS and near map imagery to be an accurate representation, but it does look like a portion of the library's parking lot on that north side does encroach into that right-of-way. But outside of that, everything's to the south, such that if it were to be improved all the way through, it wouldn't be too big of an impact, although as I'm not the property owner, I'm sure they would have a different interpretation of that.
Well, maybe,
For the record, I would love to be able to take it to the right-of-way and not go on to try to go onto DeKalb County's property.
well, what I was gonna say is, obviously you have to really see it on a survey versus GIS, because those things don't necessarily always line up the way you'd hope. But if their parking lot actually encroached into the right-of-way, then that helps you.
Yeah.
Because you're connecting to it without leaving the right-of-way space.
Cool idea.
Anything else?
My only comment is back to the balconies. For me, having access to outside space, like public space quickly, I think is important. It just, I don't know, feels like a little claustrophobic. And then even if you're going immediately down, you would hope for kind of a central, like, open space, like an open grassy, like, community area where they can, gather. So I'm struggling with no balconies, and then the community space being very limited with the trees and just not like a central, real community area.
Well, just architecturally speaking, noise concerns aside, the balconies also do another thing, which is, the building's a little flat at the moment, right, in the articulation. There's not a lot of depth to it. There's change of materials, that's nice. Where I think we've said this on other application in the past, where it's just like the balconies purely by nature of providing shadow lines give a building character and depth. So it would be nice if it had some of that.
That's my only comment.
Any other comments on the application? Well, we can start moving towards recommendations.
I'll start with one just on the balcony front. I think I would make a recommendation that the applicant explore adding balconies to public-facing facades to add additional character and depth. I don't know that I have I won't define a percentage, I just think on the public-facing facades.
So that, just want to make sure I'm wording this correctly in my notes. The applicant should explore adding balconies to public-facing facades to create additional depth. Is that what?
Yeah, additional depth and character. Actually, let me revise that. I'd recommend they add balconies to street and parking lot facing facades.
Okay.
So I guess that's what I meant by public.
Are you,
Alley included.
No, I will not include the alley. That is a public right-of-way, but not occupied. I guess the second one would be, I'd recommend the applicant explore shifting the building and parking lot westward to eliminate, yeah, I'm sorry, you're correct, eastward to align the face of the building to the supplemental zone. And then related to that, but as a separate recommendation, recommend the applicant explore tiering the westernmost retaining wall so that no portion is greater than 4 feet.
I would just say all retaining walls. Exploring doesn't require it, but.
Okay, fair. I don't know that I would say all, because I guess there's only 2 of them that are,
I can't find on
maybe
mine.
maybe I could say ones that are along adjacent to property lines.
Yeah.
Because the internal one next to the parking
fill
lot,
one
I
doesn't
don't,
really count.
still be nice, but I'm not as,
So it would be explore walls adjacent to property lines to be,
recommend the applicant tier all retaining walls
Over 4 feet.
over 4 feet, so that no single portion is taller than 4 feet.
and I just wanted to confirm the second one, you said explore, a recommendation to shift the building and parking lot eastward to align the building with the supplemental zone, to the supplemental zone. That was the second recommendation.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm trying to eliminate the need for requesting a variance without addressing the variance specifically,
Got it.
per Matt's request.
I'd like to add that the applicant, I guess explore is the word we're using, explore pedestrian connectivity to adjacent lots.
want to clarify most notably the library?
Yeah, I mean, to the library specifically, but yes.
So do you want it to be to the libraries only or to adjacent lots and the library?
Well, the concern was primarily the library, allowing that pedestrian access to the library.
Because I think actually all the other adjacent lots are currently single-family
Yeah,
residential.
yeah.
Except for to the alley, which we are recommending, what if you could put that sidewalk that you already have going down outside the fence there?
I guess one question I would have is, would you like us to go just, on the backside of the building where we're taking a right-hand turn at the sidewalk? Could we just extend that till, past the fence to the alley, which would allow for easy access to the library? Or would you prefer that we exit the fence line and then go west with a sidewalk? It's not an extraordinary amount, but it is also not nothing.
Personally, and Eileen, I know this is your recommendation, so
Yeah.
feel free to adjust, but I feel like I would want the full sidewalk in the public right-of-way. That way, if the north parcel ever redevelops, it's already, there's a sidewalk component already part of it, and you're not creating a double sidewalk situation there, but that the sidewalk just be in the alleyway, just continuous to the library, and then your fence line be on your property.
And I think if it works okay with you, I would just say to reword the recommendation to work with staff on that, because I think it's gonna come down to how Public Works wants to deal with the alley to begin with. But looking at the property map, it seems to make sense that you would do that.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm fine with any of those. Honestly, I think it's, I just am really hoping for that pedestrian connectivity, and however they're able to do it, if they can do it on the alleyway, or if they can't, to just kind of, perhaps like you were saying, extend the sidewalk as you were talking about, whatever way just kind of makes sense.
Would you be comfortable if staff worded this as the applicant should work with City of Chamblee staff to explore pedestrian connectivity to adjacent lots through the unused right-of-way to the north of the property, specifically the library, which is located to the east of the property?
It's located to the west.
So it is, yes.
So I don't know what library you're talking about, but.
Exactly.
The one at the end of it?
Yeah.
There's one at PDK.
If I don't have a compass in front of me, I am useless.
I should have brought this up earlier, and I have it in my notes, and I forgot. Quickly, has staff or the applicant engaged the airport just to double-check on the height?
I have not to date, just to try to, I plan to engage the airport. I was just trying to wait a little bit longer to do so. Just didn't want to waste their time if this is going to be DOA or anything like that.
As a note on that, as part of the LDP process, it is now standard process for us to require all properties in the city of Chamblee to go through the FAA clearance process. The UDO only requires us to do it for properties in the runway protection zone, but as near as we can tell, in an effort to be a good neighbor to PDK, we require that for every commercial development in the city.
And that'll, if you go through that online system, it'll tell you if there's a conflict, or
I would love to talk to you all about that a little bit more after this
We can
meeting.
hand you the website, we can't explain it ourselves, but
any other recommendations? Did you have something?
any additional recommendations?
That's everything.
Do you have the third recommendation? So I can just
The third one?
Or if you you want to repeat back the
Okay.
4 recommendations, then I'll call for the vote.
Okay. We'll probably make it sound better. Right now, this is based on my notes, so I'm going to reread the recommendations, but we'll rewrite them to make them sound better. So the first one is recommendation for the applicant to explore adding balconies to public street-facing facades to add character and depth. The second is to explore, recommendation for the applicant to explore shifting the building and parking lot eastward to align with to align the building to the supplemental zone. The third one is to, recommendation for the applicant to explore that all retaining walls over 4 feet be tiered. And then the fourth recommendation, that one, Matt, you had it better than I did.
The applicant shall work with City of Chamblee staff to explore pedestrian connectivity to adjacent lots through the unused right-of-way to the north of the property, specifically the library, which is located to the west of the property.
I'm sorry, can you reread the first one? The balconies one?
Recommendation for the applicant to explore adding balconies to I have public-facing facades, public street-facing facades to add character and depth, if you want to
Yeah, I would
clarify
change that to street and parking lot facing
Street
facades.
and parking lot facing, okay.
If we added it, or if we clarified that we're talking specifically about the Hardy Avenue and 4th Street facade, would that work? Or are you also wanting on the westernmost facade? Okay.
Yeah, so it's really the east and west facing, and then the south end of the,
But not the long side of the south.
correct.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I wasn't sure if by saying 4th Street it was clear, because the building's set so far back that it would, so essentially, I'm just saying where the parking lot wraps the corner, those faces, and then the Hardy Street facing.
So if we worded it as explore adding balconies to the Hardy Avenue, 4th Street, and west facades to create additional depth and character, would that
I think that
capture that?
confuses this part, which he doesn't intend.
Right,
it's
because
4th
there's
Street
that little
facing.
portion there
So you
that's.
could say Hardy Street and parking lot facing facades.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do that.
Or you could say facades directly adjacent to the parking lot in Hardy Street.
Yes.
That is specific enough to make my bureaucratic heart go pitter-patter. I love it.
Do you have any additional recommendations? Questions or concerns?
If not, I will call for a motion to adopt those recommendations we just read as the recommendations of the board.
Motion.
Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor, please raise your hands. It's 4 in favor. Those opposed, those in abstention, 0 opposed, 0 in abstention. All right, moving on to other items. We skipped over this earlier, but we do have to approve the minutes from the October 8th, 2025 Design Review Board meeting.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hands. 4 in favor. Any abstentions? Any opposition? 0 opposed, 0 abstentions. The matter is closed. And with that business done, I'll call for a vote to adjourn.
Vote to adjourn.
Motion.
All those in favor? Very well. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Yeah?